Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have the Z, which is good, and I have some good vowels to go with it. I don't have a bingo with this rack. And opponent changes. Do I have a play which gets the Z doubled? I don't think so, but I can play he's for 42. That looks a little closer to a bingo. He's takes a P and W in front and a D and S after. Now, does an E help this rack? Gosh, close to tegmenta. But I'm not seeing a bingo with this rack. I have the ment ending with AAGT. That's not good. I have an A for going underneath the Z. What about the other floater, the H? Does that offer anything? Not really. So it would be nice to sort out the duplicates and play off the M for score. So I could play Manta, beginning under the E. Don't think I can play the G without leaving duplicate T, and that's a difficult choice. Do you keep just G or double T? Probably not terribly much between those. So I could play manga in that spot. And that does score a little more, so maybe that would be my play. Now, do I have a double-double in column 5? Well, yes, I have magenta. Well, that might be better than any of my manga and manta plays. And plays off the G and splits up duplicate T, so that certainly will be my play, I think, if it remains available. And it doesn't. So 40 points for opponent. My G can go underneath ZA. I've nothing to go under EX. And, well, only T for going underneath EU, so I don't have a play in row J. Opponent has taken out this double-double lane. Nothing goes in front of ZA. So, what do I have? Tricky. Mant isn't good. Gant is. So I could play this for 20. It doesn't give terribly much away. But only 20 points. So is there a play through the H? Well, I think if I do have a play through the H, it will give opponent a lot of options and it won't score massively more than 20. So I'm going with this. Wow, not good. Too many vowels. Fortunately, I have the M, so I may be able to score close to 20. I think this rack is too good to change. Chew is quite nice in terms of blocking the board because it only takes an S before and after it. So overall, I think Gant is a good blocky play. It doesn't take anything in front. And I'd like the board to remain blocked until or while my rack is as non-bingo-y as it is. X takes an O. I now have one. But I don't have anything to go after ZA. So Moai, I think, is the obvious play here in terms of just the rack, but I'm not sure that actually goes anywhere. Well, it goes in row I, but I'm not sticking an M in the middle of column 1. I would have Umiak onto a C, possibly onto a K. How frustrating. No D for heased. That would be quite an easy score. And also very little to go in front of EX. I do have a T for that spot, but I think the best I can see is Tomo, and I don't want to keep 3 vowels. Opponent, well, spent quite a while on these opening plays, has only actually played 1 move on the board, and has already used up nearly 4 minutes. Does he have a bingo about to come down? Sometimes when the clock ticks down, it's when an opponent has got a blank and is trying to find the best bingo and doesn't mind losing time because he knows he's going to be receiving 80 or 90 points. I'm looking at column 3 to see if I have a play onto this G, and I'm not seeing one. What about a play over the top of Gant? An A can go over the G. So I have Ma, M-double-A. Well, that's as good as it gets. But it is over 20 points. So better than changing, and doesn't give very much away. Now on to an N. I would have A motion. Wax takes a Y after it. I have Zamia down from the Z, but that's putting an A next to this double letter square. So what else is available? I certainly would like to split up the duplicate tiles that I have, so that's A and O, and do something about the excess of vowels. So I guess iota would be worth considering. It does leave the M on my rack, but that's not a terrible thing. It's quite a nice tile. It does feature in some bingos, and of course a scoring tile is always useful when you don't have a bingo. But I'm not seeing anywhere for iota. Mui. Here's another play on my rack, keeping double AT. Wow, opponent does finally play, and he plays an S off really cheaply, which suggests that maybe he did feel he was close to a bingo. Wow, I do have a Moai spot, but it provides a lot of opportunities. I'm minded to play Ma for 21 because it gives very little away. Yeah, well, and I'm just not seeing anything better. Well, all 1-pointers. Not sure about Toonie. I think that may be good. Although these tiles are bingo-y, it's not the case that I can hang on to a 5-tile powerhouse, so I don't really mind wrecking this rack. Ars takes nothing in front, Ma takes nothing in front, so if opponent is bingoing, he's forced into column 2 or column 9 or row G, all of which are face value bingos. And I do feel that having played US, he must be close to having a bingo. And if I'd played Moai in column 2, I'd have been gifting several floaters, plus access to the triple word squares if he didn't have a bingo. Now I do have Toonie, and well, there it goes. Bingo for opponent. Now, and I can't reply in kind. I was contemplating playing Toonie, which does play in column 2 but doesn't get doubled. So how about something else? And I trail, so I don't want to get rid of all these floaters. I have Uri through the R, but that stops 1 square short of a double letter square. Really tricky. I feel this rack is slightly too good to change. Well, what about just playing double O? 12 points. XO takes an N. Yeah, so I am creating a bingo lane in row K. I'm going with this. Now I have Tenioid through the A and iodinate and ideation. Will opponent be distracted by my double O play? I have addition as a 7-letter bingo. That doesn't play in column 2. And it does play in row K. Fantastic. Addition and exon. So it's always nice when something pays off, and one of the reasons for playing double O was that XO took an N and I was retaining one. So I do now have a guaranteed bingo. So let me look for other bingos, because the row B1 through the A is going to provide access to triple word squares, which isn't great. Do I have a bingo through the R? That looks a really good 8-letter set. It hasn't come to mind so far, but there could be one there. Retinoid, well, that doesn't quite fit, and I don't think that has an anagram. Great, addition remains available. Has opponent provided anything better? Well, the I doesn't make an 8 that I know, or that I can see. A play through the L isn't going to be better. No, I'm going with addition. And this leaves the board fairly wide open, but I trail, and I don't mind that. I would like a run of good scores. So, addition for 77. Wow, I draw a blank, which is great. And I have Q with the U. What I don't have is vowels, but there are plenty of floating vowels on the board. So I have quart through either A of aerates. What else do I have? That's not going to score very much, and it does take a whole bunch of hooks at the end. So it would be nice to find something better. There won't be a bingo with this rack. Pile, well, does take a number of hooks. I don't have to play off the U, especially as it's my only vowel. And I also don't have to play off QU, because QU together is positive. So maybe I should be playing off V. Well, V and D. 35 for opponent, good score. He still leads. So I could play, well, there too burns the Q. Let me just see what quart scores. 28 points. Yeah, and that's a lot more than playing it higher up. What I could do to mitigate the quart hooks is simply to play quad, which only takes an S. But that doesn't get doubled. So I would rather play quart. Quad in row B. 18 points, so I'm sacrificing 10 points. And I have a slightly better rack lead. V goes quite well with R and T. Only 18 points. Can I do better than that? Nope. Not that I can see. I am going with this. Pretty good pickup, drawing 2 vowels. I wasn't too bothered by retaining no vowels because I had the blank and there are vowels on the board. Now, do I have a bingo? Floating E, floating A. Surely there's something here. I have the over prefix with PT. Not seeing anything with the blank as an A or an E. I over top, possibly, which would play in row N. I think that's good. Overtops and stopover. Yeah, I think that's good. What about a U? Overput, not good. So how about the floating A? So there could be a double through that. This rack plus an A. Not seeing anything so far. Still nothing. P and V don't go great together. So, pivoter. Interesting. Well, pivoter does play in row N as well. And that's, well, that's using the blank as an I. And I'm still mainly considering an A. Wow, that looks close to something. Fortunately, opponent taking a while on his move. Now, what about this? Nope, not seeing anything. Overpassed. Well, opponent's just blocked that. That would have worked. Great, opponent having K and U. That's non-bingo-y. Okay, Kutu only takes an S, so my only chance is for a double or a bingo through the A is this rack blank as an S plus an A, and I'm not seeing one. So Ply takes an R. Over top stops one square short of a double letter square, so I think it is pivoter, and the V gets tripled. Pivoter for 80. Wow, fantastic. I take the lead, and this is a really good rack. I have minders and reminds. They play in column 11. And surely opponent's going to be attracted to these triple word squares. He can't bear the thought of me having access to them. And that will leave column 11 alone. So what if the unthinkable happens and he blocks column 11? Do I have a play? This rack plus an A. And surely there is one. That looks fantastically bingo-y. So I would have the man ending. Surely there's a bingo with this rack plus an A. A Dermins and surnamed. Okay, neither works. And opponent may also be drawn to row A, triple word square. What about the T? That looks less promising. Not seeing anything. Oh, wow. Dreamboat City. Belief takes an S. And all I have to do is decide which bingo to play. I think it's only the two, minders and reminds. $95, and reminds puts an I next to this triple letter square, so this has got to be best or better. Okay, so I have a 100-point lead. Not a great rack, but only 19 tiles to come. Opponent could easily come back with a bingo, given what's left. Although, I note that all S's have gone. The last is on my rack. Now, what's the board doing in terms of bingo lanes? Well, there still are some. Column 14 is the best 7-letter lane, and there are floaters in beliefs. And I wonder whether I should be, well, column 11 as well, with the blank as an S. To what extent should I be closing the board down, and to what extent should I just be piling on the points to outrun a bingo? Probably a mixture. Now, I can play Vogue in column 14. I think this S is quite valuable. It's valuable for oops, quads, and squad. So, although it's got a value of 8 or 9 points, I think it's worth more, especially as it's the last S. Wow, great bingo by opponent. Fortunately, only face value, and he burns the blank, but what a spot with double AOU, absolutely terrific stuff. And opponent takes the spot I was eyeing up for Vogue. Only 12 tiles left. The remaining tiles looking a lot less bingo-y without that blank. And opponent has done a good job in blocking all of the bingo lanes. So what am I going to do here? There's still scoring spots for opponent in row O and elsewhere. So is there anywhere amazing for my J? Well, I'm not sure there is. Let me check the remaining vowels. 6 out of 19, really dry for vowels, so why don't I play jig? 22 points, and that gives me a spot for my S, and it preserves my vowel, and I'm taking out 2 floaters. Yeah, I like that. No vowels are drawn, so may try and hang on to the O as well and play through the A. What about a play through EA? Now, did I miss jeans last turn? Wow, did I have the N? May have done. Okay, well, I think that would have been a miss. I would have Cordovans. Well, if the A was in a different spot and another O were available. Interesting. If opponent's got a lot of I's, he may burn them off and may also struggle with vowels. I don't think I have any decent S plays. I lead by 70, which is a good lead. I'm only really in trouble, I think, if opponent bingos. Jig was not a great score, low 20s. I'm minded to try and play through this A and turn over tiles next turn. How can I do that? Nice score for opponent. Opponent is creeping up on me, so I need to score. What do I have through this A? Well, I've not seen anything so far. 11 minutes on my clock. I thought I had 5, and that spooked me a bit. 7 tiles left. I don't have to play the V, but it doesn't feel a particularly useful tile. I'm really surprised that I don't have candidate plays through this A. This is a fairly balanced rack. Well, gosh, I was thinking about playing Candor just to burn off lots of tiles. And I'll pick 6 from this. Surely I'll pick some vowels. But only 11 points. Is that really the best I can do? What if I do burn my S? 27. Tricky. What about Snod down here? 31. Keeping some scoring tiles. Quite tempting to get 31 points. There are vowels to come. Yeah, and I'm only 39 points in front, so an extra 31 points would be good. What would be terrible if opponent now bingoed through this A. So let me really try and think hard as to what I've got through this A. So I've got Nova. I'm also eyeing up B, C, W and Y, so I'd quite like to play off C and V. Duplicate C is pretty awful. Now, what about the H? Wow. I'm really struggling here. Nova for only 14 points. But I am retaining the S, which is a good scoring possibility. And I'm definitely taking out all of these bingo lanes. And I'm offering almost nothing. I am going with this. Wow. Am I going to regret that? I still have the S for squad and quads and jigs. So I have Silled. 31 points. 4 tiles left. Which means the opponent has got some of these high-scoring tiles. He's got the Y for FY, which would take out my S spot. I may not see any more vowels. I could set up a new S spot with chord, retaining my vowel. But for a tiny score, it'll partly depend on how much opponent scores this turn. I feel I'm making the end of this game a lot closer than it needs to be. I think opponents' bingo prospects through the floaters in Autobahn were slim, but they were not non-existent. There is surely a bingo through this A. 34 points for opponent, 1 tile left. Do I play chord? I think I do. Setting up a new S spot. 408. I will lead by 26 points. This feels really lame. What options do I have? Well, Silled, but then I have CRR. What if I do chord? £7 points. And then I'll draw 1 in the bag. Very little prospect of going out in 1. I think I need to do better than that. What about a playthrough UR and O? 6 minutes on my clock. What about Silled for 31? I could draw duplicate C and be faced with an absolute nightmare. But this does put me 50 points in front. Well, opponent could score 30 or 40. Big scoring tiles still to come. Well, I may massively regret this. I'm going with chord. Wow, I draw an E. Fantastic. This holds out the possibility of going out in 1. Can I do that? And even if I don't, I've got lies and chords or sile, so I'm in a reasonable spot. But I am hopeful that there could be an out in one here. I have an I for going underneath the Q. What about a play onto UR? Not seeing anything. Do all of the 5-letter plays here, and there are a lot, do they all end in S or begin with S? I think they do. What else have I got? A play beginning with H? No. N? No. B? Burzle? Doesn't fit. So I lead by just 20, but I think it's going to be enough. Opponent's remaining rack is pretty ropey. Are there any lanes I haven't considered? Ma takes R and S, but that doesn't help. What about a play through D and N? No, not seeing anything. That was a really nice pickup of the E. And I've considered the M. 5 tiles is quite a lot to get rid of on a fairly blocked board. I don't have anything for going after the J. Just revisiting the H. Well, I'm starting to feel that maybe there isn't an out with this rack. Opponent down to 1 minute on his clock. What about a play through the F? Not that I can see. Hirsle. Hirsle. Wow, I think that's good. Okay. It may not be the best play. It doesn't score very much compared to Sile. I'll need to see what opponent has got on his rack. Down to 40 seconds. I have 6 minutes on my clock, so it's always good to have the comfort of some thinking time. What a shame there isn't a 5-letter play with S in second place, but Isla isn't good. Just scanning the board. And opponent plays Sid. And I am minded to play Hirsle because otherwise opponent's got scoring tiles. So I think this is best. Phew, it is good. I had a moment of doubt there. And the final score, 394 for my opponent, 439 for me, a winning margin of 45 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Wow, that felt like a really close game. Definitely helped by my final pick. Opponent to go fast, he changes. And I have he's for 42, that looks fine. Opponent plays wax. And now G3 mat. Keeping ANG. And what do? I play Gant for 2 fewer points, keeping mat. Well, ANG actually has quite a bit of synergy, so I think mat would have been a better play. Opponent's rack. Wow, that is so close to a bingo. Plays US. So played US from this, keeping AERST. He kept a monster. My rack. And I play Ma. Yep, that looks fine. And opponent gets his bingo down, which was a good spot. And now I trail by 50 and I've got 3 O's and no scoring tiles. So I play O for 12, and only these top 2 plays with significantly greater score, and they both keep 3 vowels, so I prefer my play. Opponent plays pile, and now I have, wow, I'm not sure I played it here, N9, because of piled, addition, opening up all triple word squares. So what do? I play it here for 77. Yeah, I'm dropping 9 points and providing very little. I prefer my play. Opponent plays feign. And now I thought about quart, and I went with quad for 10 fewer points. And this wasn't just about scoring rack leave, it was also about what it provided opponent, and I really didn't like the fact that quart takes an E and an O and an S and a, well, the Z's gone, but EOS after it. So I'm still happy with my play. And opponent's got the E. So opponent plays Q2. And now, what was available here? Over pert. Okay, well that doesn't ring any bells through the E. Over kept, over step, over type. All of those are through this E. And then pivoter for only 2 fewer points. Poverty also available. Okay, well, I like my play. Only 2 off the top. Wow, look at that. That looks pretty bingo-y. Fortunately, pivoter provides no floaters, whereas any of those plays through the E provided a few. So opponent plays belief, and look at this. I have reminds for, well, minders for 95. I could have got more points for reminds. Yeah, because the D would have got doubled. Okay, but in any event, that's a big score, gives me a big lead. Now, opponent has Juanico, which plays in column 14, but also Autobahn. So not a miss bingo, but a suboptimal one. Now, this is where things started to get a bit twitchy, because I have a 50-point lead, but I have a horrible rack. And although the tile pool is poor, there are still bingos amongst them. So this is where I played jig for 22, setting up an S spot, 07, dogs for 41, keeping CJV. Yeah, that's the sort of play which you can just do if you want to pile your way through to victory by scoring regardless of rack leave. Jig made future play slightly easier because I retained a vowel, I retained an S, and although plenty of picks will pick vowels, there's always the danger with CJV that you draw 4 consonants and the extra 20 odd points just don't become worth it. So I still think jig is better in terms of getting over the line, even if a computer would do better with dogs. I think as a human, it's definitely helpful to retain racks with options. Now, opponent plays fogey and puts me under pressure. My lead now less than 40 points. And what do I do here? I play Nova. Dons, 07. Yeah, maybe I should have taken the points. But then I play Dons and draw 1 tile, and opponent bingos through the A and I lose. So Nova definitely had merit in terms of taking out bingo lanes and therefore guaranteeing the win. Opponent plays what? And now here we go. I'd lead by 19 points. And wow. Okay, I play chord for 7. Opponent's rack plays Sid. And let's see, just the 2 alternative spellings of hers, all those were the only outs. And this is really what I was thinking of. By always retaining decent tiles on my rack, I gave myself the option of a decent a decent score at this stage of the game, which I think would have been enough to win. But Herzl does the job in one go. So what a game. Absolutely tremendous fun, really close, and some challenging racks at the end in terms of sacrificing points in order to take out bingo lanes, even though the remaining tile pool was non-bingo. So I'm sure other people would have made different decisions at that point. But the focus is always getting over the line in first place, and I never lost sight of that in terms of the plays that I did make. Many thanks to my opponent for a good battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.